Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Cutie Art Crusaders for March 5th, 2013. We're back, and after last week's insanity of having Sibsy on, 180, what do we have, 187 viewers in the live stream.
Viewers in the live stream, yeah.
We got a shout out from EQD at some point last Friday. Just a bunch of amazing stuff happening last week, which was really awesome because we had that episode set up for a couple of weeks. So it's really awesome to see that. But before we go any further, my name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and editor of the podcast, and today I'm joined by
Burnda1, the special guest coordinator and also the sub-editor for the podcast.
I'm Flutterguy317, and I'm the art coordinator for the podcast.
And I guess I'm Pinky Dash because everyone else is taken.
All right, then. That's really helpful to all the new viewers that we have, because I'm assuming that at least, probably of those 180, that at least like 20 or so kind of have started picking up the show more, which is really amazing. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Sibsy again. She's never going to see this because she doesn't watch the show, but or at least I don't. Maybe she
might
does.
Watch it now.
But,
I don't know.
But I just wanted to thank her wherever she is in the internet ether for doing that, because she really helped us out by tweeting about it. And
she's watching in our dreams, and that's what matters.
She's Luna now.
But yeah, she was like tweeting about it, and like she came into the chat last week, and we had a lot of fun, and it was just insanity. So
the chat was crazy. Thank you guys so much.
We hope to follow up that crazy episode with something that we've been really excited about recently, which is our OC episode. So we're starting now.
Educational.
Yay!
What? With our what?
I just yelled educational.
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 Yeah, so we have our two-part OC episode, as we've been mentioning for the last month and a half, which apparently people have still missed, because I had some questions about it when I said the deadline was like, March 1st, and people were like, the deadline for what? And I was like, oh, God. But anyways, now we've closed all that off, and we're doing our two-part OC episode. So part one starts today.
Right.
That means we're going to get crazy educational this week on you guys, but we hope that you enjoy. We tried to organize this very well. And so in the spirit of organization, we're going to jump right into it. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking you guys through kind of a step-by-step process. We've had a lot of people come up to us and say, how do I make an OC? How do I make an OC that people will like? And so we decided to spend this kind of episode going over, if you don't know how to make an OC, here's some steps that you can take. We're going to have like a 7-step process that you can look through and decide over different things, have some do's and have some don'ts. In general, these are just guidelines, though. There's a lot of great OCs out there that don't follow these guidelines. But, if you're lost and you just can't think of a way to make an OC, or you're having real trouble with it, then we're hoping this guide can kind of help you guys out for making your own OC.
This can also serve as like a something to branch off of, too. So if you wanted to make your OC a little bit different, then you can use this to like have the base and then kind of do something a little bit different.
Yeah, and as a little disclaimer, like this is how us four, like specifically, look at OCs and think what's a good OC, what's a bad OC. It's kind of just our opinion and how we've been looking at OCs over our history of being a brony. But I mean, we're hoping that we don't offend anyone by saying like, oh, this is less desirable when trying to make an OC, because we want to help you make the best OC that you can and have it. So other people enjoy looking at your OC as well. So
exactly that. And the way that we're going to be doing it today is going to be kind of giving you guidelines so that when you make your OC, you're going to have a lot of people look at it and go, oh, that's very nice. There are a lot of OCs out there that are very individual, and I'm sure the person who made it is a great artist or whatever, but there are certain things that we're going to be mentioning later that can lead other people to be like, ugh, about your OC. And, if you're making an OC, generally you want it to make a character so that other people will like it. So we're going to kind of give you guidelines. And again, these are just guidelines, just our own opinion. But yeah, we're going to be going through a 7-step process. So Bernd, do you want to start us off here?
Sure, I would love to. So our first step on our little 7-step process is OC style. When you're choosing your OC style, there are a few first preliminary steps that you have to go through. Yeah, categories. Mm-hmm. And 3 of the categories that we have laid out here are for when you're making your OC are a pony-sona, a show character, or other, just any kind of OC. So everything else that's not really, doesn't fit into the area of pony-sona and show character. And to kind of go into those, so if you don't know what they are, because the OC, like just OCs or My Little Pony OCs, it's this big like gray area in the community. It's like term. If you make a pony, everything's an OC, you know what I mean? So let's see, a good example. Pony-sona is basically an OC that represents you. It's meant to represent you as a person, you as kind of as an individual. It kind of maybe looks like you, acts like you, has a feature like you. And a good example that I'd like to use is actually myself. Out of our 4 OCs that we use on the show here, my OC is the only original character, is the only one that's actually a pony sona, represents me. It started out as an OC, and I like gave it a name and a little backstory, but I was like, I drifted away from that, and you know what? Now it's just burned pony. It's
in case
just,
anyone's
it's
wondering,
me,
Bird
and it's
has
what I
fuzzy
use.
ears, like in
Yeah,
real life.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like me as far as the goatee goes. Like that's my feature. I've always had a goatee. God knows since how long.
And your long hair too.
And definitely the long hair.
Your fabulous mane.
Yeah. So if you want to make kind of like a original pony character that represents you as a person, pony sona is kind of the way to go for that. And then the next category is show character. And this is a bit of a specific category, but I think Rainbow Plasma can sum it up better than I can.
Yeah, so show character, we're just for the preliminary, we're going to use our characters for a little bit. But for example, show character, I would consider my little character that I use as a show character. The character's name is Bright Ember, and it's a mare, obviously, so it's not a pony sona. A lot of people ask that because technically I use it to represent myself on the show. But it's a girl, whereas I'm a guy.
Are you sure about that?
That's debatable.
Yes,
But go ahead.
I'm very sure about that.
Eat ice cream.
But the reason why I call it a show character is because show character OCs are supposed to be OCs that you make where most of the things are made to fit within the current show's canon. So something that's very plausible to be in the actual show. You can say whatever you want about pony sonas being in the show, but it's kind of, much more tied into the universe of MLP.
Yeah, like it's a character that you could see in the show. It's not going to be in the show, but it would fit in with the characters in the universe.
It would make sense, you know?
And there's definitely some...
The character would not look out of place if you put her next to... Like, if you put her in the background, you wouldn't notice.
Right. It follows a couple of rules. For example, like, it has a job that makes sense. It has a special talent and a Cutie Mark story, and it lives in a certain place. And
that makes sense. That's not playing 360.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because 360s don't exist. And anyway. No, but there's a gray area. Like, there's definitely some crossover. Like, you can have a show character that kind of represents you that, like, lives in the world of Equestria. And so that's where it gets confusing. But, like, Pony Sona strictly is, like, a pony that's meant to represent you as a person. And then a show character is an OC that could exist within, like, the actual realm of the show. And then we have the other category, which is just any kind of original pony character that you create because you can. And that falls under all sorts of stuff. A good example of that is something like the Reddit ponies. If you're a Redditor and you have, Decentia, Karma, and Apathia, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you have the ponies, and like they obviously wouldn't fit into the Equestria universe, and they're not really representing anyone, but they're original characters. So if you make an original character like that for fun or for whatever reason, it kind of falls under the other, but it wouldn't exist in the show, and it doesn't represent you as a person. And like there's definitely some crossover, as with anything, but those are kind of the categories that we've laid out. So when you're making your OC, those are important things to kind of consider, like what you want. If you want
kind of
something to
step.
use as a representation of you, or you as an artist, so on and so forth. Anyway.
Yeah, because you take that and you can go anywhere from there, basically. Yeah. It's really the foundation, and you build on top of that.
I was just going to say, it's a step that I think is overlooked a lot. And we've had many, many questions about what's the difference between a pony sona and a show character and just a regular OC. We've gotten that a lot.
Yeah, people sending them into our email, multiple.
Yeah, because Flutterguy and my OC are female. And people are like, well, how does that work? Because OCs are supposed to represent you, and you're guys, and your OCs are girls. Now, the weird thing about Flutterguys and I is because we didn't create those characters to necessarily represent us, directly, but because now we have this show, we had to have a character to represent us. So now we've kind of merged, and we're kind of half and half.
And actually, I guess we can come out with this now. The reason that we both chose to go with mares is because we like drawing them better than stallions.
Yeah, it was easier.
Yeah.
And again, they're not quite
you guys and cheating and making it easy.
They're not quite pony sonas per se, because you're not using them as a representation of yourself. They're just original characters that could fit within the show that you're using as like an online face. It's whereas mine, like I kind of associate myself with the
it
pony
definitely
that
represents you. That's the difference.
Well, I'm the same as Burn. Like, it's my character. I don't electroshock, for those who don't actually know, the blue one. People like. I mean, I don't. My character doesn't look anything like me because I'm not a pony. Believe it or not. I don't have a tail, sadly, and my skin isn't actually blue. But this
My
is
headcanon.
my character that I've made for myself is how I would see myself if I was in the My Little Pony universe. It's if I were a pony, that's what I would want to look like. So.
Mm-hmm.
I would caution against saying that, Pinky Dash, just because what I want to look like is not necessarily a pony sona. Because if your character is made with the intention of being you in a pony world, representing you in both personality, in a lot of ways, looks, and different things like that, then I feel like that's much more of a pony sona. Whereas if it's just like, well, yeah, if I was a pony, then I would be this.
Well,
then that's not necessarily a pony sona.
Like maybe want is the wrong choice of words, but this is how I would see myself as a pony. But like you can't. It's to make a pony of myself now. It'd be weird because I'd have like some weird white colored skin and like some odd brown yellow kind of hair and some like blue eyes.
That's getting a little too into it. If you use your character and you develop them how you would want to look in the pony world, as it were, that's a pony sona. Like if
that's exactly what I've done. That's exactly what my character is.
You've created your character how you would want to look if you were a pony, and like that's a pony sona, especially if you use it to represent you. I mean, it falls into that category.
Yeah, I think the way you use it is very indicative of what it would fall under. And again, like we said, there's many different categories. Anyway, we should move on because this is going way too long.
Hold on, wait. And there's, something that I just want to bring up is they're not like completely distinct categories too. Like there is a little bit of leeway between them. Like for instance, Caramel, who's my OC, has a cutie mark, which is vector curve because I'm a vector artist and she's a vector artist. So that we kind of share that similarity, but that's kind of where it ends. So
it's not, that's kind of not show canon, but yeah, that's picking hairs,
But no.
He was saying that's the pony sona part.
For the pony sona part.
Because that's what's anyway. Seriously, we're going way too long in this.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, So the second step of this first step, rather, is like when you're kind of looking at what kind of pony you want and how it represents you or how it exists in its little world, is kind of like the personality or character. How does your character represent itself? That's a bit. Help me out with that one. Character personality.
Basically, personality, you have to kind of... these are things to consider before even looking and starting to make your pony at all. Consider what type it's going to be. Personality. Just think of what kind of personality. Is it going to be like you? Is it going to have its own personality? That's all personality means.
There you go. Like a unique personality or something.
Yeah.
Like each character in the show has its own, personality. Like there's a huge separation between Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash and something like that. So that's also something to consider, kind of how your character carries itself. And you can kind of go really unique with that. Like a good example is we have a little picture here. What is it? Kat Whitney's OC or Pony Sona, I do believe, Sleepy Skies. Where it's like she's always sleepy in like every depiction I see of her. She's always sleeping on something, sleeping on Cat Whitney's head, what have you. And then what is it? Dusty Cat's OC is very manly. It's a manly OC. He's always seen drinking a beer and sitting in his chair and with his mustache and looking very manly at the screen. I don't know, whatever manly ponies do. But so that's kind of like getting into like super strict personality, but
anyways,
also another important step.
I think that's basically what we can talk about in terms of like OC style, which is the category we're in right now.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one.
Okay, the next step number 2 when trying to decide what to do and how to make your OC is deciding a race. So that's unicorn, Pegasus, Earth, other like bat pony. I like all that sort of stuff. I'll touch on alicorns in a second, but stuff that's either like one of the 3 main races or something completely different if you decide not to go with the show sort of character. So if you got, for example, something like Burned, who is a bat pony based on Egophiliacs designs, Luna's guards, or the ponies that pull their chariot are sort of bat ponies. It does sort of fit in quite a lot with the style, how you choose your race, because Pegasi don't normally have gradient wings, except for princesses, which again I'll touch on later. The Earth ponies are quite usually, apart from Pinkie Pie, sort of mellow tones, I've been noticing.
Yeah, more earthy.
Yeah, more earthy sort of colors, and unicorns are just everywhere because they're magic.
Magic.
Magic. But I mean, I personally chose my race as Pegasus because I'm kind of obsessed with flight and always have been. And if I could choose a magical power, it would be to fly, like a superpower. It'd be flight. That's why I chose Pegasus.
Yeah, seriously, like race is very easy to choose. Just choose the one you like.
Yeah.
You have to kind of consider what if you're going for a show character, for example, it's very important. The race is very important because it can decide what your pony does or whatever. So yeah, otherwise just pick. Do you like unicorns? Do you like Pegasus? Do you think you should be an Earth pony? It's whatever you decide to. It's very simple. The one thing that we will mention with this that I'm going to hand off to Piggy Dash is there's a huge debate between whether or not to use alicorns. Piggy Dash is going to tell you why it's not the best idea.
Thanks for palming that one off to me. Okay, so you do see a lot of alicorn OCs around in the fandom, and then you get, like if you see them on DeviantArt, you sometimes see a lot of them with comments disabled because people have been bagging out them so hard. A reason why a lot of people do that is because they perceive the person who made that alicorn OC as somebody who just wants everything and they want to be all powerful. I mean, you see the word Mary Sue flying around quite a lot, which I can't exactly remember the definition of that. I think someone else here does, but
I think Mary Sue is the wrong word, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's just it's me being all powerful, and I can't choose what I want, so I want everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas in the show, there's only very specific
some people
characters
kinda,
who are alicorns, and that's the princesses.
Yeah, some people kind of see it as like when you make an alicorn, it's like I want to be a princess.
Yeah, I just want everything to revolve around me. I mean, I'm not saying that you do. It's just how people perceive that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if you do have an alicorn OC, like if you sent in an alicorn OC to us, we're not exactly saying that you are a person who believes you're better than everyone else, but it's how people perceive that. It's like you can't choose, so you're just gonna take everything.
Because is in show canon wise, alicorns are kind of seen as royalty. Twilight evolved into a princess, and like only alicorns can be princesses, and it's kind of like this hierarchy. So if you make an original character that's kind of like this alicorn, you can definitely make good alicorn OCs. There's a lot out there, but they kind of have to have some kind of like higher story behind them. Like I've seen a lot of Luna-esque OCs, and they're not quite show characters or anything, but they're OCs that they're like galaxy ponies and like represent like actual like galaxy things, and like there's a lot of cool things you can do with it, but it's kind of a joke in the fandom, where it's like, oh, alicorn OCs with crazy colors, and we're definitely going to get into that, but
yeah, it's the perception. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to tell people, here's how you make an OC so that other people will look at it and go, oh, that's nice. And I can almost guarantee you, unless you're some sort of amazing OC maker with a great backstory, don't make an alicorn. It's gonna end up making your life harder and your character less likable because everybody's gonna look at it and go, "Oh, great, you think you're all powerful," and just avoid it. I know people have made good ones, and people are just like, do whatever you want. And if you feel like this is what you want to do, then do it. But we're telling you that you're going to get crap for it.
Yeah, because this episode's more about making a fun OC, and like personally, and like the average brony would make an OC. I mean, like exceptions get really nitpicky, like someone making a fan fiction about like before Equestria was made or before Luna and Celestia were made, and then like they'll make an OC alicorn or something before that. It's just like, it's when you're just making your generic OC, it's just alicorn isn't the best option for many reasons, and that's all we're trying to say.
Pick one of the three main races and then move on to designing your mane and tail and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but that's not to say you can't get creative with it. Like it's my example of myself is not really creative. I really was a huge fan of Egophiliac, and I wanted to have a bat pony in that style, but I didn't like the bat wings. I didn't like the purple bat-esque, to like whatever wings from the show, or even and Egophiliac draws them cool, but they're just lines. But as far as show canon goes, I didn't really like the bat wings, so I decided to stick with Pegasus wings. So you guess you could call me half Pegasus, half bat pony. If that's weird. I just didn't like the bat wings, so I went with Pegasus wings, and then I went with the bat pony ears, and I'm like half bat pony, whatever. It's my OC. I like it. It looks how I want it to look, and I like to think it doesn't look bad, and people don't tell me it looks bad. So
You look horrible. Moving on.
All right, just let
No,
me,
you
let me
look fine.
just pull out something really quick here.
Oh no, he's getting the keys.
That wasn't even bad. That was a good example.
That was a good example.
You did
Taking
ramble,
too
though,
long.
and we're supposed to be moving on to the next section, Burns, so...
Bite my Pegasus wings.
Something I want to just play devil's advocate, because I do agree with you guys with the whole alicorn thing, where it's like, you know, if you're gonna make an OC for the first time or for the second time or whatever, or if you want to make an OC to kind of as like an image that's on the internet that people perceive as you, you know, it's going with the alicorn is not really the greatest idea. But that being said, there are some really interesting body types. So like Luna's body type or Celestia's body type. So if you want to experiment with that, like do art with that and just like throw on different colors, like, you know, it's not the end of the world to choose an alicorn for an OC, but if you're just creating your first or your second or whatever, I would
You just have to
recommend
take in
against it.
consideration how people are going to perceive that is all we're trying to say.
Yes. Okay, so moving on without further ado. So Pinky Dash alluded to just a couple of minutes ago that you should then choose your mane or your tail styling, because this is kind of the most unique feature on your OC.
I wanted to make a point to that.
Can be. The most
Yeah,
unique feature.
when you pick the unique feature of your pony, which you're going to get into about mane and style, it's like every single pony looks the same with the exception of like hair, eyes, and mane. Like if
Yes.
you take away the mane and like legs to ponies, they just look like worms.
Yeah,
And like that's it.
This
That
is
was just
very
an
easy
excuse
to-
to use your
They're
worm
little
picture, wasn't it?
inchworms. Yeah, no.
That was an excuse to use your worm picture.
They actually look. If you take away everything except the head and the body, they actually look like rubber ducks, not worms.
Yeah.
But-
Ducks,
I
whatever.
don't think the
but
legs.
ducks.
I think you were a bit
Ducks.
mistaken there by the legs. Don't take any legs off of any
No,
pony.
like this is very easy to explain with vectors.
Yeah.
If you have a pony vector, like just a standard pony standing in profile, remove the horn, remove the wings, remove the hair, remove the tail. It's the basic pony shape. Every single
Yeah.
pony is modeled on that shape except for the princess.
Yes.
So you
Right.
have these simple features that is what makes you you. So go ahead, Flutter. Sorry.
So no problem. So yeah, mane and tail are one of those unique features, and it's probably one of the most prominent unique features, and you can do a lot with it. There's like a couple of different, you know, strategies to go about making your mane and tail. You can do something that's completely custom done, basically just choosing what you want to do, making it go crazy, but you don't want to go too crazy with your mane, because it then it kind of gets out of control and detracts from the rest of your pony.
Yeah.
Or you can go with something that's very similar to this show. On the show, like an example that I like to bring up is Rarity has probably one of the most complex manes on the show, because it's full of perspective lines and different gradients and stuff like that.
As far as color wise, Rainbow Dash is like the most unique, right?
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
you're not talking about colors. So
Yeah,
Okay,
Rainbow
I was just,
Dash
you
is
said
that.
unique mains, and it felt like a point. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not really going to touch on the color too much of mains, because Rainbow Plasma will talk on that a little bit later. But in terms of like perspective and stuff like that, you kind of want to keep that in mind, because a main is kind of a way to show 3D-ness in your pony Sona or your OC. Like for example, with Rarity or Pinkie Pie or really any of the main six or any of the ponies on the show, there are little things that make their mains a little bit 3D, and it kind of makes them stand out a little bit. So, but Rarity more so than the other characters. So you kind of want to choose what you want to do.
yeah, I think it's important to, when you're making hair, it's not easy unless you're an artist to just kind of make up a hairstyle.
Yeah.
Because you need kind of a picture for it, and unless you're an artist, then how are you supposed to make that picture? But I think what a lot of people fall into the trap of is making the same exact hairstyle as someone from the show, but different colors or something.
Right.
And I know, because I fell into that trap myself, which I ended up changing later because I wanted to be more original. But I think using hair as a reference is good, but stay away from use. If anybody uses Rarity or Fluttershy's hair,
Yeah,
it's
you will
just
know.
it's
They're gonna
way
recognize
too
it.
unique. It's way too unique a hairstyle.
Shut up.
in
I use Fluttershy as a reference for my hair, but I changed
Yeah,
it.
I
It's
think
not as
yours is
long,
different.
and I change how it comes off, like the top of
Yeah.
my skull and so on and so forth.
And yours doesn't remind me of Fluttershy at all.
in the finale episode, at the very end during the coronation, everyone noticed that the four ponies that were carrying the banners and stuff and singing were basically Fluttershy recolors.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's a mane that's unique to Fluttershy. Like you know that's Fluttershy.
That was sort
Yeah.
of Fluttershy cross Rarity with the colouring and the eyeshadows and stuff.
yeah.
Something
But
as
just talking
simple.
about the mane.
Yeah, something as simple as changing how the tip of Fluttershy's mane's curls, like instead of having it curl up, like having it do a little swoop downwards. Something as simple as that can completely change how someone perceives the hair.
Yeah, so you can use references from the show. Just try and give it your own unique flair to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and if you're a pony Sona, kind of look how your own hair goes, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like yours.
Yeah, exactly. Well, mine's very majestic, so I have very free reign.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of color, I guess Rainbow Plasma is going to talk about that with both the mane and the rest of the pony.
Oh, color is a big section, and I want to dedicate some time to this because there's a lot of theories on color and theories on pony color, and color permeates almost everything. Color is probably, there's a lot of things that are very important when making an OC, and we tried to separate them into 7 categories. But I personally think that color comes out above these other 6 ones just because it's so out there for everyone to see, unless they're like colorblind. It's so important to how people perceive your character. And so I've got like 4 or 5 points that I want to make here. And the very first one I think is the most important. And this is probably the most controversial too, because some people don't agree with me on this. But if you're trying to make a basic, kind of safe, not too crazy pony, there's something I'd like to call the 4-hue pony theory. 4-hue pony theory. And what this 4-hue pony theory states is that between your character, don't worry about the cutie mark at all. That's something later. Just throw that out the window. We haven't even discussed that. You have just your pony. There should only be 4 unique colors on your pony. Otherwise, it gets too cluttered.
And what
Let me
features
bring up
does
some
that cover?
examples. What?
What features does that cover?
That
for your
covers
pony?
body, that covers eyes, and that covers hair. Both the mane and the tail. So let me bring up a few examples that I made for this episode. The first example we have is Twilight. Twilight has 4... Well, Twilight's a bit weird, because Twilight's got a bunch of different shades of purple. But just for the sake of argument here, we've got 4 different shades of purple. But basically, you can see where I've labeled it 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 colors. That's it.
Raise this barn, raise this barn.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you.
So we've got that first one with Twilight. There's another one, for example. I used Pinky Dash's OC to show you exactly right there. 1 is the body, 2 is the hair, 3 is the hair accent, and then 4 is the eyes. You know, we've got a bunch of these different examples that we're going to be showing on the screen, and I think it's so important to keep this down, because if you don't have this down, it's going to become more confusing for the viewer's eyes. If Twilight had a different eye color, her character would start becoming more and more complex, because you've got 5 different colors attacking your eyes for each character. Now, of course, this doesn't extend to outlines versus fills. If we look at, for example, this fourth one with Bon Bon, we've got 4 different colors. We've got her skin color, or her fur color, I guess, her 2 hair colors, and her eye color. But obviously, she's got outlines which are darker than her fills for both her hair and her body. Those don't count. I'm just talking about 4 basic colors on the pony.
Yeah, when creating your pony, for the love of all things pony, do not change the outline color of a character for like your body or hair. Like the exception for that is so small, and it still needs to be like an analogous color, or aka similar color. If you change those colors, it completely like separates that outline from your character, and it detracts how people look at it, and it makes it harsh to the eye, and it makes the character not seem as whole and put together. So like there are very few examples where you can radically change the outlines of like hair or your body for the fills inside of them. So as a good rule of thumb, keep those outline those outlines of your character either slightly lighter or slightly darker than your character, or than its feature.
What they usually are is a bit darker and a bit more saturated.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can see that in every single pony. I don't think we need to describe that, but outlines are the darker color of the fill color. So that was the four hue pony theory, and I want to move on to the next one because this is something that I've, again, kind of come up with myself, but I think it's very relevant to when you're creating an OC. And it's the difference between choosing a contrasting color system or a continuous color system. And I think in our examples, I actually put them backwards. I did.
Yes.
I put our examples backwards, but that's fine. Bernd will sort it out. So let's start with continuous. Let's start with the second one here. And so in continuous, that means that almost every single color on your pony is generally the same hue. So for example, my very first example here was Colgate. Colgate is a continuous pony because if you look at her what would I call her body color?
Yeah, body fill.
If you look at her body color and you look at her hair, they're all shades of blue. They're all different types of blue. Obviously, white is a neutral color, so I'm not going to count that. But they're all different types of blue, you know? So she is a very continuous pony. My second example here is an OC that we found, and it's by Scythe Girl. Just wanted to make sure that we're crediting the artist there. But her little pony here is different shades of orange. So she's got a very light orange for her body, and then she's got a darker orange for her hair. That's very continuous, and that's what I mean by the word continuous.
Colors are similar and analogous. Analogous means they're right next to each other on the color wheel.
Right, exactly.
And just because they're similar and analogous doesn't mean that you can't have a wide variety of different like shades of that color. It just means to stick with the same hue.
Like on my OC, my hair is 2 shades of blue.
Right, but your pony is not continuous because you've got like a non-bluey gray, and then you've got the blue, and then you've got the yellow in the eyes. So the opposite of continuous is a contrasting pony. And there's some really good examples of contrasting ponies because a lot of ponies in the show are contrasting ponies. And what that means is generally when we're talking about body versus hair, for example, in this Scootaloo piece, it can be any Scootaloo piece you want. Just look at Scootaloo. She's got orange and she's got purple. She might want to pick a better vector than this. But you've got the orange and you've got the purple. Those are not continuous. Those are they butt against each other. That's not a bad thing. That just means it's using a contrasting color scheme. And to use my second example so we can move along quickly, which is now redirecting really slowly on my computer. Fantastic. All right. The other one would be, for example, we talked last week about Raven and her OC. What's it called? Snowflake?
Snowdrop.
Snowdrop. Yeah. And she's got that blue, and then she's got that contrast of red in her hair. And so that's what I mean about that.
On the RGB color wheel, that kind of really light cyan blue is the complement to red on your monitor, which I find interesting because I see it everywhere now.
So I think it's important to kind of consider, am I going to do a continuous style or am I going to do a contrasting style? And of course, there's obviously in-betweens for everything. I think Pinky Dash is a good in-between there. He's got blue on his body, and he's got a little blue in his hair, but it's not necessarily perfectly continuous, you know? Same with Flutter Guy, you know, you've got the kind of yellowy to brown. That's not exactly continuous, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just a kind of guideline, again, for making an OC.
So like you can even look at the main 6. Like Pinkie Pie is very continuous. She's very pink, and Rarity is very contrasting. She's pure white, well, a little... subdued white, and then just purple, violet.
Right. Now, of course, we can talk about Rainbow Dash, but when it comes to coloring, I swear, just everyone throw out Rainbow Dash, because Rainbow Dash defies all coloring standards. So don't come up to me. Do not come up to me and say, well, you said there's a 4-color theory pony thing. And I was like, well, yeah, Rainbow Dash has obviously got like 8 colors, but throw that out, because she's the exception to everything.
She's very unique, and they managed to make a rainbow pony per se very well in the show, and that the blue that they use in her hair and things is the same as her hair stroke, so it doesn't come off as like
she's very radical.
different. Like she wants to stand out, and she stands out well in the show, and she has that very unique color scheme, but it's still very subdued. So even if you are trying to be radical, you have to take in consideration to dull down your pony, even if it's has like a rainbow theme. But Rainbow Dash is very much the exception.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the last things I wanted to talk about, well, it's not really one of the last things. We've got a couple more things because color is such a big part of this.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about eyes. And I think eyes are a very big part of a pony because they can really draw you in to the character. And so again,
they provide the expressions. One of the biggest features.
When you're thinking about coloring, it kind of follows the same thing, the continuous versus contrasting. And what you want to do is, for example, with Pinkie Pie, she's got a very continuous, like you said, she's very, very continuous. She's got pink, and she's got pink in her hair. She's just pink everywhere. She's Pinkie Pie. But then she's got that blue, and that blue cuts through, and really makes you focus on that point.
Makes her eyes pop.
So when you're making a character, you should always focus on where do I want the person to be looking at, and what do I want them to kind of feel when they look at that, And so, for example, Pinkie Pie goes straight to that eyeball, right? Whereas Twilight, in my second example, the eyeballs kind of blend in a little bit. Because, she's purple, her hair are different shades of purple, she's got, purple in her eyes.
She's a purple.
She's a purple pony.
I kind of have a theory for that.
What? Go ahead.
With especially with Pinkie Pie, is because she is such an expressive character. She is always bubbly, always happy, always bouncy. If you don't have the eyes stand out, you miss a lot of that expression.
Oh yeah.
Whereas with Twilight, she's more subdued. She's more, more thoughtful, more laid back. Whereas Pinkie Pie is always in your face, bouncy, energetic, and the eyes make that. Like the mouth helps as well.
No, that's actually a really awesome
point. But the eyes make it.
Yeah. That ties back into the personality of your OC. So if you're choosing an OC that's like really bubbly personality, you might want to go with some eye color that doesn't really match with. It has to fit in well, but it doesn't have to be analogous with the rest of your pony.
Well, if I may, because Bernd has been using his as an example, when I created my pony, I was very conscious about the fact that I created a kind of continuous look to it. I went from yellow to orange to red in my pony, but then I wanted something to stand out, and so I made that icy blue, and that's straight in the eyes, and it makes the eyes really pop out. And so it's very important when using colors to consider, like I said, what's that going to do? Is it going to make things pop? Is it going to make things, settle back in? It's very important, and that doesn't just extend to eyes. That extends to hair, that extends to accessories, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. That extends to everything. And so when you're coloring a character, you have to really be conscious about what's coming out and what's the accent. What's the big thing that's sticking out in this character. You don't want too many things. You don't want to have 8 things sticking out at you because then it's just overwhelming. So you got to pick that one thing that's going to stick out. Is it going to be your hair? Is it going to be your eyes? Is it going to be your wings? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and to repeat ourselves, you really got to make sure, don't make it saturated. It's just, please.
Yes.
Bernd, do you want to go into things to avoid with color? Because there are a couple things.
We touched on it a little bit, but it deserves its own really big point that you really have to avoid really saturating something or making something really bright. So like eyes, like Pinkie Pie's eyes, that's about as saturated as the show itself ever gets. And like Rainbow Dash's hair, that's an exception because it normally never does something
Rainbow
like that.
Dash is always the exception.
Yeah, and like her hair is really saturated, the ultimate saturation, but she is the maximum saturation. So when you're making OCs, you don't want to make all your OCs maximum saturation. Hey, Berndo1 here. From about this point, we start talking a lot about saturation and hue and brightness and color, and I know that a lot of people who are watching this probably don't know what that means because you probably aren't a digital artist, or maybe you're a novice artist or an aspiring artist. But I wanted to make a quick little insert edit here and tell you a little bit about what we mean when we say saturation, lightness, and hue, and so on. So on the screen here, I've got a little screenshot of my color picker from Photoshop. And if you're a digital artist, so you should hopefully be somewhat familiar with this. But if you've never seen it before, I'll tell you a little bit about what it is. So we've got white in the top left, black on the bottom, and our color or hue on the right side. Why this is a great example is because we talk about hue, saturation, and brightness all the time on our show. Because we're looking at digital art and it's constantly used in digital art. Now what hue means is hue means color, so that's the bright red in the top there. And then lightness means the amount of black and white. It's how bright it is. And that's the white and black on the side and bottom there. And what saturation is how much color. That's the very middle there. You see in the middle of the white and in the middle of the bright red, how it kind of gets dull, grayish blended there. That's because it's a lower saturation, it has a lower amount of color. But that's what we mean, and during this episode when we keep saying saturation, we're talking about the amount of color. In the show, it constantly takes down the amount of color, or it desaturates it rather, because it makes it easier on the eye. So here's an example of what I mean by that. Bam, right in your face. This, God, it hurts my eyes. That is way too saturated and it's way too bright. It has way too much light in it and it has way too much red. All right, so let's lower that down a little. Let's lower the saturation and take some color out of it. Now you see what happened there? It got duller and now it doesn't hurt your eyes when you look at it. So that's why you want to use desaturated colors in your OCs, because it's easier on the eyes and it's more enjoyable to look at. And having something that is really brightly saturated should only be used as an accent or something to create focus, like Pinkie Pie's eyes or a cutie mark. But to repeat myself again, you really don't want to use bright saturated colors in your OC because it's painful to look at. Another good thing to note is you can actually also desaturate something by upping the lightness. To take more color out of something, you can add more white to it. So you can actually up the lightness or brightness to something and add more white, which will end up replacing more of the color and making the hue less strong and the saturation less strong. So let's do that. Bright friggin' pink. Okay. Oh, see, that's way too saturated and it just hurts your eyes. So again, let's take it down a little bit and see what happened there. Now it's not hurting your eyes so much. And now, as proof the show does this, we'll see if I can work a little magic here. Ta-da! So that's what the show does, and that's what we mean by when we say decrease the saturation. We're talking about decreasing the amount of color so it's not as bright and it doesn't hurt your eyes, and also increasing the brightness of the color or the amount of light or white and black in the color. So that's what we mean by slightly desaturated and not super bright. Anyway, enjoy the show. You want to have them be normal and be pleasing to the eye. The reason why the show is so desaturated and pastel is because it's pleasing to the eye. It very much follows the happiness and pleasing part of color theory that we'll hopefully get into. But
it's
if you have
that you
a color,
want to look at.
Yeah, if you have a color that's really bright and really saturated, and so like its lightness and saturation in Photoshop or whatever you're using is really up there in the high, when you see it, it's going to hit your eye and it's going to hurt, and it's not going to be nice to look at. So you want to dull that down. You want it to be like in the show because it looks nice.
It's
so
like
you have
to
to try. Sun. Yeah, so that's why you try to, because it basically hurts your eyes.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you for that.
You have to try to avoid having tons of different colors because they start conflicting and because they start doing crazy things, and you have to try to avoid having those really bright colors because it starts to hurt your eyes. And again, so there's another big joke in the fandom that there's a lot of OCs out there that use that strict black and they use really bright red. People are probably doing that because they like black and red, and that's perfectly fine. But you have to take in consideration that like an ultimate black on your monitor is pretty much like no color. It's like the absence of color.
There is no
especially
ultimate black
on
in the show.
monitors as a medium, black creates a hole and it creates a void in your artwork, and it will create a void in your OC, and it will create a void in your character. And you don't want to do that. Black looks very bad on an OC. If you insist on using black, you have to try to desaturate it or make it look a little bit more gray or throw some blue in there or something.
The only place that they ever use the ultimate black, like the black in the show, is in the character's eyes. So in the eyelashes and the pupils, that's the only place that they use that black. Even on the even on the evil characters. So things like like Luna, or Nightmare Moon, or if there's the guy with the one
Chrysalis.
horn. Chrysalis.
Yeah.
Like even the bad characters, which are typically black, they're not black. They're grey, or they're very desaturated black.
Chrysalis has a little bit of green in her. Nightmare Moon had a little bit of blue in her. And then
purple.
The new guy, what's his name?
Sombra.
Sombra. He was pretty grey.
He was like his coat color was grey, and his all the black on him was a more saturated. Like a darker version of that grey. It wasn't black.
You can, if you really do like the color black, you can make an OC, but don't have it be that ultimate black. Yeah, just
want to desaturate it or dumb it down somehow, or mix a little bit of color in there.
Or work it into an accessory or something, you know? The body is such a huge part of the piece, and it's where most of the color is centered around. Don't make that black, because like you said, it just creates this void. You know what I like to see? I'd like to see an OC made that has kind of dark gray black eyes, like where they have the irises. That'd be cool, and that's a good use of black.
It gets creepy. It can be cool, but it gets creepy because we associate black pupils with like a human feature. We associate it with how something is supposed to look. So remember on your Uncanny Horse Valley, it starts throwing you off when you try to mess with something that's a distinct feature like a pupil. Like the reason why pupils like in the show and stuff are that ultimate black is because they need to stand out for expression's sake. To tell what your character's feeling, it has to be like that. So if you cut that out, it makes your character look like it's a zombie or possessed or something. It's really common in anime to get rid of the eye shines or make the black in your pupil some kind of other color or more desaturated or gray, because having a gray pupil is very common of it's kind of risky about a corpse or something. Like your eyes will glass over, and but anyway.
One last thing. I just want to say one last thing because we have to move on to the next one, which is going to be unique features. Okay, go ahead. You say it first. I'm trying to move along quickly. We've got a lot of time.
Okay, so just one more thing about eyes is with the eye shines and the eye highlights and the gradient and stuff. There's a lot of things that they put into the show to make a pony look more alive. Basically, the iris is a gradient from the top to the bottom, and you have these eye shines, which if you look at like older cartoons, they don't have the eye shines, and the eyes look kind of dull and like not really lifelike. So that's something that MLP does is they put the eye shines in there to make the eyes pop out more, make it seem more alive. So when you're designing your eyes, don't forget to add those.
Don't mess with what works.
The more the eye shines, the more it glitters, and the more it like adds to the character. So like if a character's like, oh my gosh, the eyes will shine more. Fillies have larger eye shines, it makes them look cuter.
And they have three little ones.
But that gradient also does a lot to add depth to your eye and so on and so forth.
Anyways, last thing on color before we go. This is, again, not a guarantee, because I know some OCs that use this and it actually looks quite great. But avoid rainbows.
Rainbow.
And again, Rainbow Dash is an exception to this, but just avoid it. It's not very original. And it's going to give you a lot of grief from the community. The one exception I was thinking of was Ragtag from Cumcrum. Ragtag, which is supposed to be like the canon daughter, or the fanon daughter of Rainbow Dash, which is adorable. And it's obviously made by someone who's very good at designing characters and using colors. But again, like these are exceptions, and these are things that if you're going to make an OC and you're not too sure about how to make it, avoid rainbows like the plague, just like you would avoid black, like you would avoid alicorns. Yes, it can be done, but please, for the love of God, avoid rainbows.
Yeah, especially if you were a novice artist, it's really not the best thing to try to tackle.
And it comes down to the same thing as an alicorn, you know. I want some of everything, you know. I want to stand out so much against other people.
I want all the colors.
Yeah, it's just avoid it. Trust me.
Dear God, don't saturate your OCs. It looks so bad. Yeah. I'm going to be brutally honest.
Okay.
Saturation looks awful.
So there's a lot of stuff with color. We tried to cover all of it. Hopefully it made sense to you guys. But we're going to move on now because there's 3 more things we have to get to. So Flutterguy? Or no, Burned. You're on this section.
Okay. So our next section number 5, is unique features. That's our 5th step. And the unique features goes into things like eyes, features on your body, and then accessories. So again, how we were saying, all ponies look pretty much universally the same, except for these unique features like like hair and mane, but they get even smaller in things like eyes. And eyes can do a lot. And I'm a big advocate of how important eyes are, because constantly being a vector inspector, people will give a Rainbow Dash pointed eyelashes. And I hate that. I hate it so much, because Rainbow Dash is a tomboy. She's a very masculine figure. She is. So she has those rounded eyelashes, those oval eyelashes. And that's very important, because it gives her a boyish look. They're still eyelashes, but they're boyish eyelashes. And that's very important. Derpy has those eyes. Bon Bon has those eyes, I believe. Regardless, a lot of characters have those kind of eyes. And it's very stylistic, and it's very unique, and it's important of that character. But characters like Rarity have a lot of eyelashes, and they're curved, they're pointed. It's very feminine, and it says a lot to her style. She even has eyeshadow on. And so you can see the top of her eyelid. That's also very important for her unique features. So when you're making an OC, it's good to look at that. If you're making a very girly Pony Sona and you're a very girly character or something, adding that eyeshadow and curved eyelashes or extra eyelashes, that's something that's very important. But if you have a boyish character and you're a female OC, you have to think about, if I add a lot of girly eyelashes, it's going to come off as girly and not boyish, like something like Rainbow Dash. So eyes are again very important. And colts usually don't have eyelashes. They usually take that off completely, because people associate eyelashes with feminine qualities.
Yeah. In cartoons, you'll notice that most male characters don't
Everybody
have.
listening right now, stop. Look on the screen right now. You will see that both Flutterguy and I, who have girl OCs, mare OCs, we have the eyelashes, and both Burned and Pinky Dash do not have any. That's because stallions do not have those eyelashes. Don't put eyelashes on your stallions.
If you put eyelashes on your stallions, they'll look very cross-dressy.
If you're going
There's no
for like
problem with that, of course.
yeah. If you're doing a comic where they're like, supposed to act feminine or something like that, then go for it.
Such a specific situation.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
I made one of those wet mane versions of myself. That was cute.
So our next part of these unique features is like your body features. So,
Wait, no, can I say one more thing with eyes? Just quickly.
no, go for it. Go for it.
Yes.
No.
This is going to be a long episode. Go for it.
Yeah.
We don't have a
We
spoiler.
don't have a
cast, so-
spoiler cast. We're right. The other thing with eyes is the eye highlights. Most male characters don't have eye highlights. The lighter colors in the iris. A lot of male characters do not have them in the show. Some OCs do. For example, mine does, because I like them. But that's just something that I've...
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but I
honestly.
think that's controversial, because I'm a big guy who argues back at the whole eye highlight thing, because the show's very inconsistent with them, and I think that they usually, for some scenes, they use the eye accents for expression or direction in which they're looking, if they're looking to the side or if they're looking straight, and sometimes they leave them out on anything, but a lot of the background characters didn't have them built in, or don't have them, so male characters usually don't have them. But I don't think it's wrong to put eye accents on your OC. I think it's actually better, because it adds a lot of character and adds a lot of detail.
That's why I like them.
Yeah, so we both do that.
It adds expression to your character. So.
Yeah, but anyway, so eye accents is like it. Yeah, use them. They look good when you do. But it's no one's gonna die.
It's personal
Body features.
Yeah. Okay, so our next little section under unique features is your body features. So the big obvious thing for that is like unicorns and Pegasuses. Pegasi.
Pegasus.
Yeah, that's already decided for you when you pick your race.
Wings, a unicorn horn, or things like that. So like bat ponies love bat wings. But I didn't really like
And
bat
fuzzy
wings, so I
ears.
used
goatees.
yeah. Maybe not the goatees, but
But
fuzziness.
that's your unique, no, that is your unique feature, Burned.
Yeah.
You have a
That-
couple of unique features on your body. You have not bat wing, you have your bat ears, and you have a little fuzzy goatee. That is exactly what we're talking about with body features.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So do something like that.
Yeah. So something like
don't
that's
have
always
to.
nice.
Wait,
Yeah.
you don't have
You
to.
don't have
you don't
to.
have
It's
to.
something to consider. Maybe try that
But
if you would like.
fuzziness on your pony is another example of a unique feature. Let's see. Do any of us have any, or is there any other kind of unique features you can think of that body-wise, besides like fuzzy ears, goatee, unique wings.
Well, when we
within
did
ourselves?
Dusty Cat's vector, you made his chest fuzzy.
Oh yeah, chest fuzzy. Oh, and a good feature on Dusty Cat is his mustache. He had a mustache.
Facial
Yes.
hair.
Yeah,
But I mean
He got
that
a
is
lot of
that is a huge feature. That'll
Yeah.
if you're gonna put facial hair on a pony like a mustache, it's gonna be the central point of your character, no matter
and
how
it's
hard you
and
try.
it's going to stand out, and it's not going to be very show accurate. Well, no, there was
Well,
actually a
that- I
pony.
wouldn't worry
there's-
about
No,
that.
there
a
are
few
actually
mustaches
ponies with
stand out.
beards. Like you remember, like the construction
beards.
ponies they had.
It's gonna stand
like,
out, and you got to be aware of that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's going to
Yep.
be the thing that stands out.
And then our last section on this is accessories.
This is huge. I would like to talk about this so much.
Yeah, and there are so many awesome examples of OCs that have awesome unique features. One of my favorites is actually it's kind of like a unique feature, but it's kind of not an OC. But it's a good example is Gamer Luna, like John is like his Gamer Luna with her headset. I think that's a good example because like as soon as you see Luna with a headset on, you think John Azeko. Like it's instantly tied with him in that headset. So like it's kind of, and you see a lot of pony sonas for musicians, like brony musicians that have like different headsets and things like that.
No,
Sorry, go ahead. But
all levels
that's
at
what I think.
once. All levels
Yes.
at once has an amazing OC because he has a little owl hat and it's
Yeah.
perfect. And I
It's
just
on
want to
him,
rant
like, every
about
time.
accessories because I feel like people don't use it enough, and it is such an easy way to set your pony out from everybody else. If you just have a little, don't go overboard. Don't put 2 accessories. Don't put 3. Just have one little thing that kind of stands out. And
That one little thing that makes you.
I can't describe to you how awesome it is when somebody has like, I believe White Dove, just to kind of go off on a little tangent here, White Dove, the amazing, well-known plushie creator, was having a contest to do with OCs like a month back. And one of the top 3 that she picked that she ended up is going to make is an OC that's kind of generally, brownish, and she had these goggles. And it was genius because it made the character stand out so much. And it wasn't too showy, it wasn't too this or that, but it was just, I love accessories on a pony, and that sounds so girly. But
Accessories.
I love accessories. Not everyone should use them, and that's fine if you don't want to use them. None of us use accessories, but
So like again,
Holy
good
cow.
examples. Raven Ismo, Snowdrop. I mean, the bandana. It's a good accessory.
Yep.
Stands out. It's a unique color. And again, your accessory can be, when going back into color, it can be continuous. It can be similar to your character, or it can be contrasting. I really like when OCs have like scarves or something like that, and like the scarf contrasts the character. I think that's always done a really cool feature.
well, to bring up Otaku, a piece of us when he did the Christmas piece,
Yeah.
like look at how cute we looked with those little scarves. Like, come
No,
on, now.
I think we need to
Even
adopt
our stuff from the Dusty Cat episode, the 80s stuff.
Mhm.
Like when I had
And
my
the
glasses
Christmas stuff.
and the Christmas stuff, like all the stuff that we've used on the past on our icons, or that Silver's used on our icons.
Yeah.
So like,
Now, of course,
My YOLO
on the
did it,
on
of
the-
course.
yeah, on the 80s on the 80s one, we kind of went overboard on purpose. We try to give ourselves like tons of 80s stuff, so that might be a little bit too much.
But even then, when-
accessories can help you with whatever point you're trying to make with whatever image. So, for example, the 80s
Yeah.
stuff, we added heaps of those things in because it was the style at the time. There was just lots
Yes.
of overboard stuff.
yeah, well, it's what we think the style was at the time. Go watch Breakfast Club. That was the style at the time.
Yeah, we should have all been wearing sweater vests.
yeah.
But
Giant rimmed
even
glasses.
when I went overboard with those features, I took in consideration what colors they might be. So like what is it? Flutter Guy, all your little like wristband things and like headbands. I made like the color of your eyes, and I tied in the colors
scrunchy?
of the character.
Scrunchies.
Well, a red vest on like Pinky Dash. I kind of just what Michael Jackson. Okay, whatever.
Don't
I
put the
guess.
YOLO thing in the episode.
Yes, sir. Putting the yellow
Don't
thing in
put
the
the
episode.
YOLO thing in the burned.
Bay Life.
Burned.
Do it.
Bay Life.
I'm gonna watch this episode, and if you put it in, I'm gonna hurt you.
Wow, that's such a big threat.
It's an open threat. I'm gonna hurt you.
I spent so much time on that edit.
Another good accessory is something that you can also see in the show with Apple Bloom, which is a bow. And I know there's a couple of OCs that have a bow in their hair, whether it's a large bow or a small bow, and it kind of just gives them that distinct.
Yeah, it's very. You like. I always think Apple Bloom, but it's always very. It's always done well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a bow, and you can do it in unique ways, change the color. But like Apple Bloom again is a good example. Diamond Tiara, that's kind of an example.
There's even
But,
that pony that has like there's a hat that has a pony attached. Like, you see hat, you think Applejack.
Applejack. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Furiously typing in the chat to say Applejack.
So
It's a great example of a pony that has a good accessory.
Everyone goes, "Oh, look, it's Applejack," but she doesn't have a hat on. What is going on? So you instantly recognize.
Yeah.
You like everything goes weird when you see that character.
And
without
oh my god, the season 2 finale, the storyboard
at the
artists, yes, they kind of played off of that. Applejack like
Kept
had her
putting her
hat
hat
behind
on.
her back and put it on. That's fantastic.
And you've got that olden pony who's always got the tie.
The priest pony,
Or priest pony
where
at the funeral.
where Apple Bloom like started jumping on the coffin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
You died, but I don't care. I'm
Am I
happy.
interrupting?
Okay, let's move on from dead ponies
Yeah.
to people discovering their special talents from death to youth. Yeah.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Please, dear God.
It's what my
Or no,
community
God,
mark is
Piggy Dash.
Can we have
telling me.
Dead pony fan art? That'd be cool.
No,
No.
Piggy Dash, please
No.
We're
transition.
shutting that out.
There's zombie ponies.
Zombie
Please
ponies would be
transition.
Okay, all
Transition.
right. Okay, moving on. Calm down. I got this. Cutie marks. That's it. Moving on. Number 7. No, okay. Cutie marks. So when you're making a cutie mark, it is quite often the hardest thing to do to come up with. I know with me it took forever for me to find
Even
inside
my
on
cutie
a
mark's just like a crap out. I
What's
didn't
that?
think about it.
Oh,
I was
yours?
admitting my shame of my cutie mark. I didn't think about it. It's like, it's a pen tool.
Well, it's hard to. Well, that's exactly what Piggy Dash is saying. It's very hard
It's
to come up
hard
with
to come up with one that you like and one that demonstrates something that you would consider as either you or your character's special talent. Like, for example, I have no idea what Rainbow Plasma's special talent is, or Bright Embers. I have no idea what that is.
He likes plasma.
It's controlling temperatures. And
Okay, thank you. I had
Okay,
no
let me
idea
explain
what
to you
that
how a
was.
cutie mark works, all right? Because a lot of people have this confusion. A cutie mark does not necessarily denote your special talent, but it denotes the event that took place that made you discover your special talent. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're all on the same page there? We're all good?
It's any of those things,
Yeah,
though. It
Yeah.
can
There's
be
a lot
that,
more
or
to
it
it.
can
It's a
be
bit of both.
others.
So, for example, if I may, because you seem to be confused about my character's cutie mark comes from the fact that Bright Ember's special talent is to control temperature, and
But
she
it could
found
still heat something up to plasma, right?
shut up.
Sorry.
She found out about this talent because there was a forest fire, and she ended up, I don't know, saving somebody. You know, I haven't thought about it that much, but
Why
That's
have you
cute.
not written a fanfic about
Today I
this?
learned. See, I never
but
read
anyway,
that.
Harmony
she
would love
controlled the forest fire by turning the fire to ice, and because she didn't know she could do that, and so the cutie mark was trying to denote that there's fire and there's ice, and she can control temperatures. So it's not something that you need to look at and go, I know exactly what that is. Because if you looked at the show, like, what do half the cutie marks mean anyway? Look at Rainbow Dash's cutie mark. What does that even mean? Right?
Does that
Oh,
make
it's a-
Flutterguy's OC like god of the pony world because like ponies are made of paths?
Yes.
You're like the creator, Flutterguy.
Well, it's-
Flutterguy is
I
a
see-
the
demigod.
architect.
No,
He's an
wait,
Earth
wait.
pony demigod.
Wait.
This goes back to the styling that we talked about at the very beginning. Because, for example, I consider mine a show character. Therefore, my cutie mark was based on, if it was in the show, would this be an appropriate backstory? You know? So, for example, Burned, yours is a pony Sona, so your cutie mark has to do with you. And I think that's perfectly fine. It's just different.
See-
Mine is also a pony Sona, but I would also call it a show character.
Right. And I think yours, because you're...
Your cutie mark's kind of like a cop out of Rainbow Dash, though, isn't it?
No.
No, it's
Because-
electroshock.
It's like I have not seen a pony in the show that does storm clouds.
Yeah,
Like-
but you had to have used Rainbow Dash's cloud as an inspiration, right?
I didn't actually.
Hey, Burned, how about that hair?
Dang it. Thwarted. No, inspiration is a good thing. That's what I was saying.
But I think I didn't actually use Rainbow Dash. I used that scene where Derpy was lying on
Derpy's
a cloud.
cloud?
Yeah, I used Derpy's cloud.
Yeah.
What is
that
that?
was
Rain
to
Cloud
make
is
the
best
original.
pony?
That was to make the original, and now it's just been remade. But
So you have
Rigger speed.
Rain cloud.
What is it? Yeah, Rain Cloud. You have dang it. Where do they all live? Ponyville's savior.
Yes.
Rain Cloud.
But yeah,
Best Dash pony.
but for anyone wondering, my cutie mark has just been redesigned. So thanks to Silver.
Oh.
Also, my
Cool.
colors.
To anybody currently on Pinky Dash's Cutie Mark situation.
Shout out to my cutie mark. All right.
So
There's
everyone,
one person
everyone
who's just
calm
like,
down
oh my god, I
because
was waiting for this my entire life.
Burn. At this moment, zoom in on my.
At this moment, cut out what he just said.
Okay. But yeah,
Oh,
consider the
God.
backstory. I mean, I didn't really come up with the backstory on mine. I just decided there are no Pegasi. Well, there's weather ponies, but there aren't any that really control storm clouds. It's more you always see Rainbow Dash trying to clean up after a storm or like prevent a storm, but you never see one happen. Like you see them happen, but you don't see who makes them.
So
Except
that
for
makes you a
Dirty Going
mischievous pony because you can conjure storms.
Yeah.
This adds
So you're
so
saying-
much
are you
like
saying I'm not
subconscious
mischievous
to your
anyway?
character.
Yeah, that
No,
fits
I
in pretty
would
well.
never say that.
So
You're
it
not
works well. I mean, I like it. Consider colors. The colors on the Cutie Mark is very important. They don't need to match your pony at all. I mean, mine do because it's just happens to match my hair because storm clouds. But if you look at Rainbow Plasma's Bright Ember, they don't like the blue in her Cutie Mark does not match anything else except maybe her eyes.
It matches her eyes, and that's intentional. That was a bad example.
Okay, so then what's her name? Caramel Curve. She's got green in her Cutie Mark and nowhere else.
Yep.
Burn, white, nowhere else except for the eyes, which doesn't count because every eye is
My
white.
cutie mark's just a lighter shade of gray.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
but-
it's like colors don't need to match. I mean, sometimes they do
Yeah.
because you just happen to have the colors
No.
there handy. But
I think it's a conscious decision, but it's what you're trying to say is that it's okay to have something that isn't on the rest of your character.
it doesn't
like
have
Pinkie
to
Pie.
match that 4-hue rule. There you go.
Yeah. So like Pinkie Pie has that a yellow in the balloon in the balloons on her cutie mark, but nowhere else in her character. But it's okay to have your cutie mark be like an accent of features on your body, and I think it's better if you have it an accent, and that's personal opinion. So like Rarity, her cutie mark, her eyes are blue as well, correct? Rarity's eyes blue. I can't
Rarity's-
remember.
yeah, it's like a lighter
Rarity.
blue.
Yeah, but it's still a similar blue to her cutie mark. So there's that kind of accent. So like in Flutter Guy, there's blue in his eyes, blue in his cutie mark. In Rainbow Plasma, it's very intentional that there's blue in his eyes, blue in his cutie mark. And this happens a lot in characters where their cutie marks will kind of accent each other.
I think the Rainbow Dashes one is the best example of that because it is her main.
Yeah,
in
it
her
accents.
Cutie Mark.
And
Yeah,
she's
kind
Rainbow
of.
Dash.
Well,
Yeah.
it's 3
So-
colors out of 6.
Yeah, again, it's for the cutie mark when you're looking at the colors in it, I think it's better if you try to consider it as an accent to a certain feature, whether that be your special accessory or your eyes or whatever, and use the color to complement that. That's something you can take into account, but it's okay to have something that is that is different, or is the color that isn't in the rest of your character, like Pinkie Pie or Yellow
It's much
Balloons.
much looser. There's not as many like rules about a cutie mark, except for there are some things that again you should avoid. Flutter Guy.
Yes. I've seen a couple of OCs out there with extremely complex cutie marks, and that does not fit in at all with the show. It's
Kiss.
it's yeah. Keep it simple. The show styling is very simplistic, and I mean, even if you're not doing something to fit in with the show, it's like if you want to commission artists to create your OC, you know, you don't want to have them try and study your cutie mark. And I mean, you know, generally simplistic things are more pleasing to the eye too. So don't really make it too busy. That's basically all I have to say.
And I guess as the biggest gamer on this podcast, can I just say, please try to avoid using controllers or video game logos. Because, look, okay, technically, with all we've said so far, that would fit in fine. Because you have a Pony-Sona, you like gaming, that's cool. But the thing is, you have to realize so many people watch ponies, like video games, put a video game on their pony's butt. Okay? We see so many Nintendo, Xbox,
I've not seen a Super Nintendo OC yet.
maybe not
I
Super
think
Nintendo.
I've seen one.
But try to avoid video games and try to avoid pop culture stuff. Like, don't put a TV show logo on your butt.
Don't put Justin Bieber's face on your butt.
Please do.
But
Unless you
Please
work
do,
for
at least
Hasbro or
once.
something, don't put the
maybe
logo
Matt
there,
Damon.
you know?
Maybe Matt Damon.
Damon, yes.
But just as a general rule, again, feel free to if you'd like to, but as a guideline, it's just something that people look at and they go, ugh, and they roll their eyes. So try to think a little bit deeper than just, I play video games, let's, you know.
And it's hard. It's not easy. Sometimes you can go to other people and ask them for help or their opinion, or like you have an idea. I mean, should be something simple that you give value to for your own reasons. So when someone looks at your cutie mark, they don't have to look at it and think like, oh, that's obviously he saved someone from a forest fire.
Yeah.
Like it should be something simple or unique, and then you give it its own value. And if someone cares enough to find out why, then it makes that cutie mark special. So like any of the main 6 in the show, you look at them and they kind of have like a basis on what their special talent might be, but like rarity, like 3 diamonds, like, or Applejack, like 3 apples. Like it has its own significance, but for its own reasons that you have to know a little bit more about the character to find out.
Yeah, don't display it. Don't just give everyone all the information, It's like you said, none of the characters, you wouldn't know what's Rarity's special talent. Oh, she can find gems. Yeah, that's perfectly denoted by 3 diamonds. No, it's because it's what, at
Her
the time,
Fluttershy, what are you,
that
a
was the
butterfly
event,
wrangler?
Like,
Yeah.
She catches
I
butterflies.
love how Fluttershy got her cutie mark, like carried away with butterflies. So she got 3 butterflies because of wildlife. Like,
that's great.
But anyway,
That's
because
fantastic.
it's like 3 butterflies. Like, what are you, a butterfly wrangler? It's like, no, but I found my
Imagine if she'd got her
special talent by getting carried by butterflies.
got her cutie mark when she was subduing that manticore, and her cutie mark was a manticore. That'd be so cool.
Or where's like giving
Because
bears
she's
like
like-
bears massages? So like
Yeah,
her cutie
no,
mark
because
is
you have like
as
this
a
massive,
bear.
ferocious character as a cutie mark, and she's all this demure little character.
That'd be great.
It'd be fantastic.
All right, well, I think that's
so
enough
those
said
are
about cutie
fantastic,
marks.
fun examples of cutie marks.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Cutie mark's supposed to be unique, but generally cutie marks are just it can be a little bit more loose than the rest of the pony. You can kind of experiment and have fun with it.
Another go-to thing to try to avoid is a lot of artists who make OCs. They really like using like pens or paint brushes, especially
Pen
for cutie
tools.
marks or painting things. There's actually a lot of really cool cutie marks that use like paint brushes and they're like painting something, but like that paintbrush is that really go-to artist symbol. So like that, it gets a little like controllers and things are a big gaming symbol. Paintbrushes are a big artist symbol, but it's like you can get try to have some kind of like specialness there,
Burned.
Yeah, mine was a big cop out. I was like, I had to make it in short term, and I had to make it for someone's birthday, and I was like, just a pen tool. That's the only thing I do in the community is vector at the time.
Did you
I
make
was
that
only
for
a vector
Pinky Dash's
inspector at the time.
Birthday?
Huh? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Pinky Dash's birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you and Flutter Guy both made that your OCs.
Yeah, when I was
Pinky Dash's
tackling
Yep.
Pinky Dash, that's when I made my OC.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were just doing the Vector Club Weekly, and we were vector inspectors. So that's the only thing I did within the community was like,
Yeah.
I vectored. So I just used a pen tool, and I was a Photoshop fan, so it was a Photoshop pen tool.
And again, like if you don't want your cutie mark to stand out that much, you can make it that way by just making a very simple thing and have things stand out like fuzzy ears and a chin. And I think Burn, no matter how much you're like, oh, I don't like my cutie mark, your pony has a lot of other things in it that make him stand out. That it don't really care about the cutie mark because you've got all these other features.
Like his fabulous mane.
I'd like to change at some point, but I still don't know what defines me
You'd have to come up with some sort of
because it's a
fan
pony
fiction
Sona,
about
so it's
that.
very personal,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so the very last one is a very special category that we made, specifically because this is one of the most prevalent things in the artist community. And Flutter Guy, do you just want to take this one? Because I don't think anyone really wants to take this one.
I know, no one really wants to take this one.
I want to talk bad about it. No.
There are a couple of tools on the internet called Pony Creator.
Okay, good. I
I
thought you were
think-
going to talk about me for a second. I was like, oh, it's been something.
Called
That's
Rainbow
funny.
Plasma.
A couple of tools. Oh, that's great.
No, I think they're on like version 3 or 4 now. And I know a lot of people who are creating OCs like to go to Pony Creator and like to put in colors and choose a pose and a style and stuff like that. The thing is that Pony Creator's poses aren't that good. It's good for coming up with references for if you choose a color to kind of see how different colors mesh and stuff like that. But even then, like the outlines are basically in Pony Creator. They're basically taking the fill color and just applying a black overlay to it. So it's not even going to be like, the correct colors. So there are uses for Pony Creator, but for final products for your OC, I'd recommend finding a vector artist who takes requests instead.
I think an important thing to think about with Pony Creator is that Pony Creator is a template software. And in no way are we saying that Pony Creator is a bad tool. When it's used properly, it can be quite effective. And but the problem is that it's a template tool. Okay? Mm-hmm. So things like hairstyles, it's all a template. You pick a hairstyle, there's going to be 1,000 people with that hairstyle because they've all gone through the same program and they've clicked on the same settings. When you're looking at colors, it's a template. You can't, unless you're very conscious about it, you can get really oversaturated colors. When it comes to accessories, people try to use their accessories from Pony Creator. There's like 3 or 4 accessories. You have 100,000 people at least going through Pony Creator. How many of them do you think is going to have each accessory, right? Yeah. The whole point of making an OC is it's supposed to be a unique character. For whatever reason, whether or not it's you or it's something like in the show, it's supposed to be a unique character. And what Pony Creator does is if you make it just using Pony Creator, it's not unique.
Yeah.
So
like there's a lot of like crazy mains and like main styles in Pony Creator that become like a go-to obvious that was made in Pony Creator, and then people see them so much, it becomes, again, one of those things where it's like, I've seen this pony or this style in Pony Creator before, and it becomes that. So the important thing that we're trying to say here is that Pony Creator is an awesome tool, and it's an awesome resource, but it should be used as that. Like, if you want an OC and you want to, like, if you use an example, like, you should go to Pony Creator and, like, lay out the colors and lay out a style you like, but then you should take that and consider, how can I take this and make it my own? How can I take this and make it original? Making something in Pony Creator, most of the time, almost all the time, tends to not be original. And this is about making a good original character. So Pony Creator is an awesome tool to help you create something, but it should be used as help and it shouldn't be used as the final thing. And it's the Pony Creator poses. Like, everybody knows the poses. It's those side shots, it's those rearing ponies, it's the sitting, it's the kneeling, it's those, I've seen those made in Pony Creator with really super saturated colors all over DeviantArt and blah. Like,
there's a lot
as help.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of features that Pony Creator OCs have that instantly scream Pony Creator. Basically, like the muzzle, if you get a side shot in Pony Creator, the muzzle is always going to be a Pony Creator muzzle. Like, if for those of you who don't know, go to Pony Creator and you'll see that the muzzle is not show accurate. The hooves, like the legs are always bent in a certain way that you can easily tell it's Pony Creator. So it's like, there are certain things that it's like when vector artists such as ourselves come across, it's like,
and you can adjust the height of your pony and like the thickness of your pony, and it always becomes like off.
Yeah,
and like,
don't do
it's
that.
A little unique, but to try to keep it as close to show accurate as possible. Like,
yeah.
The main thing that we're trying to say is it's not bad, but it should only be used as a reference, never ever a final product. And it should only be used as one of many different references. That's basically what we're trying to say.
Yes.
And we understand that not everyone has the artistic ability to take something from Pony Creator and then make something like of their own. And we understand that a lot of people who are probably watching this aren't like artists or people that go and make their own art. This is, again, it's a helper to try to, this whole episode is a help, something to help you to try to help create your own original character. And Pony Creator is something that's really good for that. And we understand if that's the only tool you have or the only kind of access. But I mean, making an original character that people enjoy looking at is something that's not easy, and it takes a little bit of work. And art, again, is like work. And learning how to vector is, again, a bit of work, but it's still an art form. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but what I'm trying to say is that we understand that people can only use Pony Creator, and that's the only way you can make an OC and use it and distribute it. But there are ways, whether it's, sketching even with colored pencils or crayons, or contacting a vector artist, or getting a commission even. Like, make something in Pony Creator and then consider spending that $15 to $20 on getting a commission from an amazing artist, because our community has some of the best, amazing artists out there who take commissions at dirt cheap. Like $20 is so cheap for a commission. I spent $15 and got a handmade sketch of my OC that is amazing and I cherish. And if like I wasn't an artist, yeah, and like if I wasn't an artist, like that is what I would do, is I would go out and find an amazing artist and say, here's this thing I made in Pony Creator, but I want it unique in X and Y features and like this to make it more original. And like artists will help you with that, and especially artists within this community. And like that's another option again if you're go-to Pony creator, OC creator.
Yeah, a lot of artists enjoy doing unique stuff.
Yeah, and like Bern was saying, it's like if you're not an artist, you could give it a try. Like there's so many different forms of art: sketching, digital painting, vectoring. Pick something up, see if you're good at it, and if you're not, then you can keep practicing, or you can find another.
Well, even if you pick something up and you're not good at it, you have to keep practicing, because like we always say on the show, art's a practice. You got to do it. Like,
yep,
I'm not even the best at doing art because I don't practice it enough. Just look
it's
at
the
it too
whole
much.
point of this show. We're trying to tell you, go out and make beautiful art. We're trying to motivate you.
Get
to
out
do
there
that.
and do some art stuffs.
Go sit outside and stare at a tree and
So
draw
if you're coming to me and saying, well, I want to use Pony Creator, but I'm not an artist, well, then you obviously haven't been watching our show enough, because we're trying to get you out there and become an artist. So
There's too
So on
many
that
things in the society that like bash you down and say like, no, your art's bad, and people are like, oh, I can't do art. It's like, that's not what art's about. Art's about going out there, doing something and making something and not caring. It's about trying and attempting to make something beautiful and then getting better at making something beautiful. It's like, you can't say to yourself like, oh, I can draw a stick figure and I can't do art. That's not what it's about. It's not what our show's about. It's about looking at something that's beautiful and attempting to make that and make it better. Like there's so many awesome things you can go and watch. In fact, I think for this episode specifically, I'm going to link or give you a link to something that's a TED talk you should watch if you're considering like becoming an artist.
you mean a TED
about
Talk?
art.
A TED Talk?
TED talk, TED, whatever. Anyway, I got they're capitalized, so I spell it out. I don't know.
It's a TED Talk.
TED talk, sure.
This has been going on for far too long.
Okay, plugs time.
So we're going to
Take
go
it,
into the
Ash.
plugs
You want
right
to take
now.
it away?
Yep, okay, I'll do this because I like it. We have a few places and ways that you can get in contact with us, and where you can check out if you don't get enough CAC during these episodes, you can go and see other stuff from us. We have DeviantArt, which is cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com, which is where we have all of our episode favorites folders. So if you have any art that we want to feature that we just can't, and any art from the episodes is all in that folder. We have one for each episode, so this will be the 36th folder in there now.
Correct.
Yes.
There's heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of stuff, so go check that out and go through and find some art that you really like and get ideas and tutorials and whatever you want. We also have an email, which is cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, please send them in because I need some. As always, like every week, if you are sending an email in to us, please put whatever you want to talk to us about in the subject line, because it sorts it out for us automatically, so that's makes it nice and easy. Social media.
So we have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Cutie Art Crusaders. You can go there. You can like us. We will post when the episode is going to be aired, the day of, and usually also 15 minutes beforehand. We also have a Twitter account, which is @CutieArtCrusade. There you can find up-to-the-minute information. That's also linked to our Facebook page, so you'll get all of that information there as well. Mm-hmm. So next week we have the submission OC episode,
which is now closed because
this
is past March 1st, in case anyone who was sending me stuff on Twitter going, I don't know what this is. I got at least 5 different people, and sorry, but I guess next time you'll have to tune into that. But yeah, so that's all closed. So next week we'll be taking all those emails that you guys sent to us, and I know we've gotten some pretty great submissions. You guys held off for a little bit, so we got worried, but you guys have sent in some really good stuff recently. So hopefully we'll get to feature.
Was mine the best? My submission?
Yes.
You submitted
your
something?
Submission is the best.
Yeah, of course.
Was it the YOLO?
Probably.
Yes.
Baylife.
But yeah, we'll have to try to feature
that.
as many as possible next week. I'm not sure how we're going to fit that in. We might do another extra long episode.
So on that note, yeah. So stay tuned for our OC episode next week, and I guess that's it.
Wait, stay tuned. They're going to sit in front of the computer for another week.
They better.
Yes,
That's what we're expecting. Of course they have to.
We got to keep them watching Everfree Network and
true.
other great shows like Dusty Cat's show and
Oh yeah, by
Blue
the way,
Screen Bunnies.
we recently got another show like on the same day as ours, and they've been really nice to us, and they've been like shouting us out on Twitter and stuff like that. So, props to them.
Yeah,
Brony
go,
Clubhouse.
Go check out Brony Clubhouse.
Brony Clubhouse. We're still figuring out timing of that, so just go check them out, and then whenever they come on, they'll come on. But I think they're going to be before us now. So you can come a couple hours early, check out some cool stuff by them, and then come to us. We just want to pimp out some awesome stuff from Everfree Network, especially if they're on the same day. We're going to be kind of like partners on the same day. So
upload on this YouTube channel. Check it out.
Yep.
Yeah. Check out the other shows.
Is it? I don't know if it is.
Is it? Well,
I think it's uploaded on their
it's
YouTube
not.
channel.
It's on there. Whatever. I tried.
Well, it was very nice. It was the thought that counts, Burns.
Yeah.
I suck at this.
Speaking of thoughts, I'm thinking that we should probably end before any of us say something stupid again.
Okay, bye.
Sound good?
End.
So,
bye, that's it.
Yeah.
my name is Rainbow Plasma.
I'm Burned01.
I'm Photoguy317.
I've already gone. I'm Pinky Dash.
And that's
I'm
it.
Pinky Dash. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
And we'll see you guys next week. What? With our what?
I just yelled educational.
Oh, educational.
Edumacational.
Yeah, so we have our two-part OC episode, as we've been mentioning for the last month and a half, which apparently people have still missed, because I had some questions about it when I said the deadline was like, March 1st, and people were like, the deadline for what? And I was like, oh, God. But anyways, now we've closed all that off, and we're doing our two-part OC episode. So part 1 starts today. That means we're going to get crazy educational this week on you guys, but we hope that you enjoy. We tried to organize this very well. And so in the spirit of organization, we're going to jump right into it. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking you guys through kind of a step-by-step process. We've had a lot of people come up to us and say, how do I make an OC? How do I make an OC that people will like? And so we decided to spend this kind of episode going over, if you don't know how to make an OC, here's some steps that you can take. We're going to have like a 7-step process that you can look through and decide over different things, have some do's and have some don'ts. In general, these are just guidelines, though. There's a lot of great OCs out there that don't follow these guidelines. But, if you're lost and you just can't think of a way to make an OC, or you're having real trouble with it, then we're hoping this guide can kind of help you guys out for making your own OC.
This can also serve as like a something to branch off of, too. So if you wanted to make your OC a little bit different, then you can use this to like have the base and then kind of do something a little bit different.
Yeah, and as a little disclaimer, like this is how us four, like specifically, look at OCs and think what's a good OC, what's a bad OC. It's kind of just our opinion and how we've been looking at OCs over our history of being a brony. But I mean, we're hoping that we don't offend anyone by saying like, oh, this is less desirable when trying to make an OC, because we want to help you make the best OC that you can and have it. So other people enjoy looking at your OC as well. So
exactly that. And the way that we're going to be doing it today is going to be kind of giving you guidelines so that when you make your OC, you're going to have a lot of people look at it and go, oh, that's very nice. There are a lot of OCs out there that are very individual, and I'm sure the person who made it is a great artist or whatever. But there are certain things that we're going to be mentioning later that can lead other people to be like, hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Cutie Art Crusaders for March 5th, 2013. We're back, and after last week's insanity of having Sibsy on, 180, what do we have? 187 viewers in the live stream.
Viewers in the live stream, yeah.
We got a shout out from EQD at some point last Friday. Just a bunch of amazing stuff happening last week, which was really awesome because we had that episode set up for a couple of weeks. So it's really awesome to see that. But before we go any further, my name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and editor of the podcast, and today I'm joined by
Burned01, the special guest coordinator and also the sub-editor for the podcast.
I'm Photoguy317, and I'm the art coordinator for the podcast.
And I guess I'm Pinky Dash because everyone else is taken.
All right, then. That's really helpful to all the new viewers that we have, because I'm assuming that at least probably of those 180 that at least like 20 or so kind of have started picking up the show more, which is really amazing. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Sibsy again. She's never going to see this because she doesn't watch the show, but or at least I don't. Maybe she
might
does.
watch it now. But, I don't know.
But I just wanted to thank her wherever she is in the internet ether for doing that, because she really helped us out by tweeting about it. And
she's watching in our dreams, and that's what matters.
She's Luna now.
But yeah, she was like tweeting about it, and like she came into the chat last week, and we had a lot of fun, and it was just insanity. So
the chat was crazy. Thank you guys so much.
We hope to follow up that crazy episode with something that we've been really excited about recently, which is our OC episode. So we're starting now.
Educational.
Yay!
Her name is Bright Ember, and it's a mare, obviously, so it's not a pony sona. A lot of people ask that because technically I use it to represent myself on the show, but it's a girl, whereas I'm a guy. Are
you sure about that?
That's debatable.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I'm very sure about that.
Keto ice cream.
But the reason why I call it a show character is because show character OCs are supposed to be OCs that you make where most of the things are made to fit within the current show's canon. So something that's very plausible to be in the actual show. You can say whatever you want about Pony Sonas being in the show, but it's kind of, much more tied into the universe of MLP.
Yeah, like it's a character that you could see in the show. It's not going to be in the show, but it would fit in with the characters in the universe.
It would make sense, you know?
And there's definitely some...
The character would not look out of place if you put her next to... Like, if you put her in the background, you wouldn't notice.
Right. It follows a couple of rules. For example, like, it has a job that makes sense. It has a special talent and a cutie mark story, and it lives in a certain place. And
that makes sense. That's not playing 360.
Yeah, exactly.
Because 360s don't exist. And anyway. No, but there's a gray area. Like, there's definitely some crossover. Like, you can have a show character that kind of represents you that, like, lives in the world of Equestria. And so that's where it gets confusing. But, like, Pony Sona strictly is, like, a pony that's meant to represent you as a person. And then a show character is an OC that could exist within, like, the actual realm of the show. And then we have the other category, which is just any kind of original pony character that you create because you can. And that falls under all sorts of stuff. A good example of that is something like the Reddit ponies. If you're a Redditor and you have, Decentia, Karma, and Apathia, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you have the ponies, and like they obviously wouldn't fit into the Equestria universe, and they're not really representing anyone, but they're original characters. So if you make an original character like that for fun or for whatever reason,
like about your OC, and if you're making an OC, generally you want it to make a character so that other people will like it. So we're gonna kind of give you guidelines, and again, these are just guidelines, just our own opinion. But yeah, we're gonna be going through a 7-step process. So Bernd, do you want to start us off here?
Sure, I would love to. So our first step on our little 7-step process is OC style. When you're choosing your OC style, there are a few first preliminary steps that you have to go through. Yeah, categories. Mm-hmm. And 3 of the categories that we have laid out here are for when you're making your OC are a pony sona, a show character, or other, just any kind of OC. So everything else that's not really, doesn't fit into the area of pony sona and show character. And to kind of go into those, so if you don't know what they are, because the OC, like just OCs or My Little Pony OCs, it's this big, like, gray area in the community. It's like, term. If you make a pony, everything's an OC, you know what I mean? So, let's see, a good example. Pony Sona is basically an OC that represents you. It's meant to represent you as a person, you as kind of as an individual. It kind of maybe looks like you, acts like you, has a feature like you. And a good example that I'd like to use is actually myself. Out of our 4 OCs that we use on the show here, my OC is the only original character, is the only one that's actually a pony sona, represents me. It started out as an OC, and I gave it a name and a little backstory, but I was like, I drifted away from that, and you know what? Now it's just Burned Pony. It's
in case anyone's wondering,
me,
Bird
and it's
has
what
fuzzy
I use.
Ears, like in real life.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like me as far as the goatee goes. Like, that's my feature. I've always had a goatee. God knows since how long.
And your long hair too.
And definitely the long hair.
Your fabulous mane.
Yeah. So if you want to make kind of like a original pony character that represents you as a person, Pony Sona is kind of the way to go for that. And then the next category is show character. And this is a bit of a specific category, but I think Rainbow Plasma can sum it up better than I can.
Yeah, so show character, we're just for the preliminary, we're going to use our characters for a little bit. But for example, show character, I would consider my little character that I use as a show character. The character
it kind of falls under the other, but it wouldn't exist in the show, and it doesn't represent you as a person. And like, there's definitely some crossover, as with anything, but those are kind of the categories that we've laid out. So when you're making your OC, those are important things to kind of consider, like what you want. If you want something to use as a representation of you, or you as an artist, so on and so forth. Anyway.
Yeah, because you take that and you can go anywhere from there, basically. Yeah. It's really the foundation, and you build on top of that.
I was just going to say, it's a step that I think is overlooked a lot. And we've had many questions about what's the difference between a pony sona and a show character and just a regular OC. We've gotten that a lot.
Yeah, people sending them into our email, multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Flutter Guy and my OC are female. And people are like, well, how does that work? Because OCs are supposed to represent you, and you're guys, and your OCs are girls. Now, the weird thing about Flutter Guys and I is because we didn't create those characters to necessarily represent us, directly, but because now we have this show, we had to have a character to represent us. So now we've kind of merged, and we're kind of half and half.
And actually, I guess we can come out with this now. The reason that we both chose to go with mares is because we like drawing them better than stallions.
Yeah, it was easier.
Yeah.
But again, they're not quite...
You guys and cheating and making it easy.
They're not quite pony sonas per se, because you're not using them as a representation of yourself. They're just original characters that could fit within the show that you're using as an online face. It's whereas mine, I kind of associate myself with the
it
pony
definitely
that I've
represents
created.
you. That's the difference.
Well, I'm the same as Burn. It's my character. I don't electroshock, for those who don't actually know, the blue one. People I don't. My character doesn't look anything like me because I'm not a pony. Believe it or not. I don't have a tail, sadly. And my skin isn't actually blue. But this is
my headcanon.
My character that I've made for myself is how I would see myself if I was in the My Little Pony universe. It's if I were a pony, that's what I would want to look like. So